Hey guys, Luna here, and welcome back to our life. So, after some discussions, I decided to pursue the other two endings of this game. And if I recall correctly, I need to see right here. So the last several episodes have been going through Baxter's DLC Step 4. So, now I'm going to be doing Derek's, because obviously Cove's ending is part of the base game, so if you guys play through this game yourself, you'll be able to do so. But I'm going to at least do Derek's. In between. I don't think I need any of this. I'll say tattoo on, and there's nothing on arm. Well, I guess I'll do arm. Scarf. I don't think I need a headscarf. Nail length. Short, plain, nose ring, none. Correct. Crush. Yes. I'll do both, I guess. Yeah, that looks fine. Sure, just because might as well. High initiative. Because, hey, might as well, since we're going through Derek's ending, so to speak. So your days growing up in the loving cradle of Sunset Bird came to an end. Years passed since graduation, you moved out of your childhood home and made your way into the world. You lived with the pets, and I'd say you had multiple ways of earning income in the gaming industry. Your family members went through the same kinds of leaps into independence. Liz and Lee both eventually earned degrees and started fantastic careers in new towns, but your mom's and Cove's father still lived in the same street as they had all those years before. It was comforting that there were still some things that remained in the older neighborhood. And despite the ever-changing reality of your adult life, your friends were still your friends, though of course things weren't exactly the same for them either. Very recently, Terry publicly came out as a man and switched the spelling of his name to use a Y instead of an I. He also confessed his love for Miranda, which she excitedly reciprocated. They moved in together and recently in the city out past Sunset Bird. For the person who left the town and you behind. You called and texted him, and Baxter never answered. But you weren't sad about it anymore. You were older, had some perspective, and you could recognize he must have had some issues he was dealing with. It seemed like your thoughts and feelings would go unheeded by him for the rest of your life. And then there was what became of your sad little boy you grew up with, Cove Holden. Your deep affection for him was something that he continued to last unabated over the years. And luckily things worked out for the two of you to still live pretty close by. He truly thrived in his continuing affections of cultivating loving and supporting relationships with his family and friends. His personality had changed, becoming more open than ever before. Cove was a warm, inviting, considerate man who took lessons he learned over the years to treat the people around him with patience and understanding. When Cove eventually developed a picture of the future he wanted to have as an adult, it made perfect sense to you based on his interests. He went to college to study marine biology. His ultimate goal was to set on becoming a natural resource technician, and still volunteered with Orca when his workload allowed it. As an adult, Cove was also able to recognize and have diagnosed that he was on the autism spectrum. was something that hadn't been noticed by his doctors as a child, but he was still the same Cove as he was to you, and he was just glad to understand himself better. It was thrilled to you to see how happy and successful you'd grown up to be. Growth and change came to the Cesare family as well. Mr. Cesare continued to run the scuba shop with Mr. Holden, but that was about the only constant that remained, which is not that surprising, because all things considering. They moved to a new condo in Prism Vista City as their 3 boys got older and the nest began to empty. The baby of the family, Nicholas, was eventually the only one left at home. George went off to a local college, staying in the dorms. Then there was the eldest son, Derek Cesare. He left the area years ago to attend an out-of-state college on a sports scholarship. You kept in touch with him during those days as you had in the past. Derek had since graduated, and you were sure he was able to have success in whatever he pursued. The long-term direction of his career was going forward was ambiguous to you, but there was still news Derek had been able to share. He was returning to the city where he grew up in, and as always, Derek had a plan. The foggy and scratched glass doors of the bus swung open with a gasp of air, allowing you and the rest of the passengers to disembark at your destination. You stepped from the massive vehicle into the Prism Vista City bus station. Crowds of travelers bustled across the concrete floors. A constant stream of strangers came from the hallways, shuttles, and other buses. The station was absolutely packed. It was vacation season. It's like I'm going to adjust my mic. Here you go. Summer had only just begun, but the California heat was already immense. You'd be lucky to even have a single day of your much-anticipated trip under 90 degrees. After arriving was such a great relief. Streaming in the humid bus station was definitely preferable to baking inside the metal walls of the bus itself. It was a fairly short ride over, but still. You didn't want to take your own car because it would have been even more inconvenience. It would have been spending your time with Derek, and he had his own car. Going in 2 vehicles would have made getting around harder, especially in a traffic-heavy city. It was best to save your car the miles. One of your sweaty hands kept a slippery grip on the handles of your rolling suitcase. It was a well-worn piece, frayed at the edges, and with an annoying loose wheel on the left side that dared you to keep moving in a straight line. You had it since you moved out of your mom's house, and it was now returning to you, at least in the general area, since you wouldn't be staying in Sunset Bird. Your accommodations were there in the city. All you had to do was inform your own friend Derek that you're ready to be picked up. And in your other hand was your unlocked phone with the contact screen up. You selected Derek's name, saw the last thought he had sent you, and texted him a quick message. Good luck on your trip. Let me know when you're ready to come by. I'll be ready for you. I'm torn between guess you survived the trip. Derek, I'm in town now. You skewed closer to the wall, persisting yourself out of the path, but in a place that was so easily visible. It took only a minute to get situated, and your phone was already buzzing with response. Coming. You cracked a smile at the screen of your cell and the brief message that lit it up, then put it away. You'll be there soon. There wasn't much else to do besides watch the tide of people go by and think. Recollections of how you ended up at that spot came to mind. The 2 of you had consistently kept in touch. He knew what was happening with you and you with him. For the past months, the catch-up calls and texts you had with Derek included updates on his process of moving. He decided to head back to the city, at least temporarily, to help with his dad with his business and work some things out for himself for his own future career prospects. Derek kept you in the loop with his house, hunting, logistics, the victories, and the setbacks in making a major life transition. It all came together less than a month ago. The Cesare family was naturally thrilled to have him there. George already lived near, only 40 minutes away, and Nicholas was still at home, so the whole team could be together again. The biggest brother was just happy to return to his own stomping grounds after all the years he'd been away. But it wasn't a familiar locale for only him. Sunset Bird was the next town over. You knew that. Derek's deep voice played inside your head. The animated way he spoke through the phone few weeks ago was fresh in your memory. He talked about how he made it to his new apartment with an extra room that you should totally come to stay in for a while. You'd be able to visit with his brothers and parents and your own parents in your childhood neighborhood, and you get to see him too. Finding a hotel in the area was the biggest problem for coming back home. You had to appreciate the unique opportunity Derek had provided. Though, even if he had lived on the opposite end of the county, you would have tried to make it. He meant more than to you than just a couch you could crash on. Seeing Derek was your main priority for the trip. You both worked it out so you could be there. Unfortunately, the other good pal from your youth couldn't make it, Cove Holden. He pouted a little about not getting to see Derek or return to Sunset Bird with you, but he recovered, especially because he would be coming later that very summer. He simply wasn't able to do it twice in one season. You'd be with Cove then, and Derek would still be in town too. This time, though, would be bonding time for you and Derek. The whole thing was nerve-wracking, but you didn't want to miss the chance. Traveling, staying in a new place, seeing Derek, everything was difficult to deal with. You could only hope he'll be manageable in the end. Those idle thoughts led to idly checking the time on your phone. It had only been about 5 minutes since you sent the text. You put your phone away yet again. It was a grand tradition of being in a bus station, waiting somewhere, checking the time, then looking around. You're back to the third step. Throughout this spacious area were plenty of other travelers repeating the same exact process as you. Other than the people filling out the space, the scene was vertically unchanged since the first time you'd seen it. You could easily recall the exact day that was Father's Day when you were 13. Derek had been so thoughtful in inviting you to go over to his house so you wouldn't feel lonely for the holiday. He didn't make you go through any of it on your own. It wouldn't be so much longer until he was by your side again. You let out a shaky breath, and then over the murmur of a bustling crowd, an echoing beat pounded throughout the air. It was the sound of rapid footsteps against the solid station floor. Pushing off from the wall, you scanned the crowd for the source. It didn't take long to an I Spy champion to notice a man in bright sleeveless sweatshirt sprinting toward the bus landing area like he was about to miss the last ride of the day. But he didn't have a map, bags, or a ticket in hand. He wasn't there to go anywhere else. He had somebody to see. And that was you. Derek had made it. Hey, you looks nice. You really grew up into full form. Especially since he was a tiny kid before. You neared the drop-off spot while swiveling his head. When his gaze fell on you over to the side, his mad dash abruptly came to a stop. Derek was a solid rock in the middle of a slow-moving river of unfamiliar faces. Grown so much. A sparkling grin broke through the stillness. That part of him hadn't changed. 10 years older, but with just as much boyish charm as ever. I'll just stay out of the way and wait. The crowd was thick over there, and it made the most sense to let Derek come to you. Definitely looks a little odd seeing tiny kid to full-grown adults, 18 plus, and also so much more buff. Derek turned on his heels to change the trajectory of his path. It took him bounding strides to close the rest of the distance between you and him. When he approached you, let go of his bag and... initiated for a high five. I feel like that's kind of our vibe between the two of us. Derek didn't miss a beat and clapped your palm against your waiting hand. It was a satisfying smack. It was a wonderful start to your...
It's been a while, huh?
God, his voice is so deep and it sounds so weird. Not what I was expecting. I don't know if I like it or not. Sup, Luna? It's been a while, huh? With the man himself right in front of you, it's possible to appraise him fully. As you had to do from the beginning, you looked down to see Derek's face. Despite still surpassing him in height, it was clean and grown a lot. Derek's back, you joked. Yeah, I am. It's good to see you, pal. Derek watched you so gently, his words couldn't ring anything but true. Setting his eyes on you was something he was grateful he could do. And hearing him call you by that long-time moniker really brought it home that you were, well, home. Her anxiety was already fading. Derek was just being Derek, was the reassurance she needed. Feelings mutual.
You ready?
You ready? Nice. Got all your stuff? Yeah, it's only a suitcase. Which way are you going? That way. Derek rubbed the back of his head as his immense chair chipped away just a bit. Do you mind having to take a stroll? I didn't bring the car. My place is about a 15-minute walk from here, and the parking's wild. I would have had to park 20 minutes away just to find something outside of the apartment's reserved spot. That's one thing about this place I didn't miss. He let out an eerie chuckle, still awkwardly scratching at his hair. So we're gonna have to put in some steps. This is why I took a bus instead of a
I
car,
got you.
Alright, that was a smart call. Oh, but Press a finger to the tip of your chin, thinking, you got here way sooner than 15 minutes. It was barely more than 5. Yeah. He attempted to shrug casually, but a smirk tugged at his mouth.
Well...
It's 15 minutes if you walk. It goes quicker if you run. Especially if you're a fast runner, like if you're a trained athlete, for example. Derek jumped in place to spread his feet apart in striking superhero pose like he was still 13 years old. Why am I not surprised? That sounds like you. Totally, right? Once again, completely carefree, Derek tilted his head over the way he came. Let's go. You reached down to collect your suitcase, only to grasp empty air. You glanced toward the ground just in time to see you rolling away, securely in Derek's hands. Hey, you just sprinted here. Don't make yourself carry the bag, too.
It's no problem.
I'm not making myself do it. I want to do it. Grab the corner of the suitcase handle. Derek thought he'd gotten it over you, but you weren't letting it go that easily. You moved over to the side and stuck your fingers around the very end of the handle again, up against his own hand.
Huh?
You bumped along with Derek and he put you between cliffs. Man, I can never beat you, but having a tie works too. Agreed. You and Derek left the station side by side, and you made your way through the vast city. He pointed out a towering building against the skyline in the distance. It was sparkling and new and had to be at least 10 floors. That's where you were going. Having such an obvious landmark to walk toward was so convenient. You weren't familiar with that part of the city. The condo where the Suzerain family used to live was further away from the station. It was certainly very different from Sunset Bird. You easily knew every corner of the town and could go from end to end on foot. But you continued along, certain that you would make it to your destination. Derek's pace wasn't too fast or too slow. He was conscious of the connection between you and wasn't going to jerk you around. Derek chattered lightheartedly as your thoughts were drifting along. It felt completely natural being there with him. He didn't struggle to let you into his world. There was a place he left open and waiting for you. Derek Suzerain, his name rang in your ears. The moment you saw him again, you had been hit with the realization you loved him. Being near him was exciting, and obviously, between Baxter and Derek, I think I like Baxter more, but we'll see. Being near him was exciting to you in ways it wasn't before. Your heart was pounding. Though, to be fair, Derek kind of reminds me of my current significant other, so... well, not super athletic, but personality-wise. The jaunt through the city breezed by, and there was so much to catch up on. Even though you didn't sprint, the 15-minute walk still felt much closer to 5. When you arrived to the ground floor of the skyscraper Derek lived in, he showed you right up. At his front door, Derek fished a key from his sweatshorts, and he swung the key on a silver loop around his finger and joked about his near disaster from earlier that day. That does not sound good. He went straight out of this house once you texted, and he was already hit with the button for the elevator when he realized his apartment was left unlocked. Derek had to bolt back down the hallway as the elevator arrived, lock the door, and make it back to the other end before the elevator closed. But he made it. He quipped that being on such a high floor really came in handy. The elevator had a longer way to go and gave him more time. Derek nodded with a laugh. Welcome to my house. Derek's apartment was a modern but still cozy space and completely spotless. A balcony wrapped around 2 walls of the abode. Though the crystal clear floor-to-ceiling windows, you could still see the ocean.
What do you think?
It's already good looking, huh? Too bad I didn't put any of it together. Came furnished. None of this is yours? Nah. I didn't have a lot of important stuff in my old place. Nothing worth bringing all the way over. And who knows how long I'm gonna be here. Getting new things didn't sound like a great idea. We'll see what happens in the long term. I might stay longer than I think. Still, at least for now, a prefab apartment it is. There's a real lack of footballs and soccer balls in here. You haven't seen my room yet. Touché. Derek's gaze cast over the room like he was meeting a friend. It had made a good impression on you, and that had him standing proud.
So...
But he cut himself off and focused his attention back to his actual guest. You can have my spare key while you're here, and I'll show you your room so you can put this away before we get distracted. That was said while Derek lifted up the suitcase he insisted on carrying. You mean so we can put it
We're
away?
a team.
Right. Hefting this thing is a team effort. You were led down toward the narrow hall at the side of the apartment and stopped right at the first door in the path. You arrived already. Derek opened the room for you, holding the door open until you passed through. You entered your temporary bedroom. He followed you inside, still tugging the suitcase behind him. This looks really nice. The furniture style was a perfect match to the living room area. It was easy to see that come as a full set. Derek set the bag up against the corner of the bed to keep it out of the way.
Oh, man.
Man, it's incredible that you're here, especially now. George and Nico are both on summer vacation. They're super looking forward to see you. Can you believe they're going to be juniors next year? George for college, Nico for high school, obviously. So they're 8 years apart. Okay. I think I remember that. He spoke with an affectionate enthusiasm. We used to babysit them, and now they're practically scholars. So between him and George, I think it's only like a 3 or 4, like a, let's see here, mental math. So speaking of American schools, typically you would be like 21, 22-ish when you graduate, so you'd be like 19, 20, actually no, yeah, 18, 19, probably about 20, and then Derek would be like 22, 23 probably, because it'd be 19, 20, yeah. Not to mention the fact that George outgrew me. I bet in a couple more years Nicholas will too. So much for being the big brother. It was a blow to Derek, but he took it on the chin and snarled in good humor. They're still little babies in my mind. Conceptually, you knew if they weren't still spending all your days on puzzles and doing whatever Derek did, but that didn't mean they had stopped being the kids you knew. It's the same for me, but don't tell them I said that. They'll get grumpy. It's a ponderous thing hearing about all the other people getting older and progressing in life. Little George and Nicholas had grown up so much, but the same number of years had passed for you, and you were older than them. You were an adult with a full-time job and a place of your own. Your life was just a mess as far as you were concerned. And it made you feel like you were still a teenager rather than an adult. You weren't sure that you'd never reach a point where you saw yourself as completely grown. A pause formed between you realized it. You blinked and brought your mind back to the present. Derek offered an understanding smile and spoke to give in a different type of offer.
So?
Want to see the rest of the apartment? I'll give you the tour. Yeah, that'll be great. Casually went through the still open bedroom door and Derek shut it behind you. The grand door of the Derek Shazer locale was started immediately. We were seeing the scenic guest bathroom with all the amenities, and he showed off the vast end hall with the closed door. Anything could have been beyond that point, and your helpful guide informed you it was his bedroom. Isn't it crazy having the master bedroom at the end of the hall? Sometimes I still look down there and think that's going to be my mom and dad's room. You moving up in the world? You and Derek strolled back to the main section to explore the dining area and the kitchen. You described the treasures hidden inside each cupboard, and you even got to check inside the fridge. It was difficult to pretend the contents weren't part of some tourist adventure experience. The only things there spread out sparsely amongst the shelves were water bottles, colorful sports drinks, a jug of 2% milk, a box of salad greens, and a few containers of some kind of packaged meals. Derek awkwardly cleared his throat, feeling as if he needed to explain the sight in front.
Oops.
I don't have much in stock right now. I usually eat at my parents' place or I get takeout. I'm on vacation, sorta. Working vacation? But I should change that, especially now that there's somebody else here. He swung his arms aside to close the fridge, but yanked it back a crack before it shut. The bottles at the door clattered. Oh, do you need any water or anything to drink? I at least got that. I'll take a water bottle.
Leave it to me.
Got you. Derek snuck his arms through the opening and pulled out a chilled water bottle. He closed the fridge for real and straightened out his stands. He accepted the drink from his hands. The sightseeing moved back into the living room from there. His fun tidbits were about which switch turned on which light and how to turn on the fan. And here's the last stop. With a flourish, he pulled open the sliding door that led out to the balcony. Cool. Like part of me, I was like, I want to say, like, oh, I don't like hikes. I love hikes. I love roller coasters and everything. Cool. But I'll say cool. Derek gestured once more to the wide open door. After you. You're losing track of how many doors he'd opened for you already, but you walked through the latest one with a sizzling summer air. The view was even more breathtaking than you realized from the living room. You could see for miles the sea, the sprawling city, and the rolling hills beyond. Neither of you spoke for a moment. Derek moved past you and leaned up against the railing. He stared up into the vast world ahead of him. You rested against the two right next to Derek. He didn't flinch. Derek welcomed your presence with ease. This was the part I was most into about the apartment. Whatever the place I got, I knew I had to have a balcony. Even a small one would have been fine, but this one's amazing. Feeling settled, you sipped at the refreshing water Derek had given you. He pinched your shoulders up and sent a grin.
All right.
So that's it. That's the whole place. And unless you actually want to see into my room. The suggestion was given with a coy brow and raised a little laugh. I'd like to see that sometimes, he teased. If he hadn't been holding on to something, he might have fallen over. He was such a stun. But it was an entirely positive way. He chuckled, flattered. Then maybe later. Derek pushed himself up from the bar to stand at full height. This is such perfect timing. We're both going to be in town for Father's Day tomorrow. That was right. You better be present to spend the holiday in person with the Suzerain family. You used to spend that day celebrating with Mr. Holden until he moved away. Thanks to the Derek's superstitious invitation to Father's Day that first year you met him, you're able to be honest with how you viewed Mr. Holden. It led to a change in the way you spent the holiday from then on, because the feeling of familiar affection was mutual. Mr. Holden was thrilled to have you there for Father's Day celebrations, and that continued on until you no longer lived close enough to do it. You also kept in touch with Mrs. Suzerain by calling. And that was just as important, and you're grateful to have two great dads who cared for you. You were looking forward to being in town for the occasion, to say the least. Derek spoke up again to elaborate on the plan. I'll be going to see my dad and everyone else. That's pretty obvious. We're just going to be hanging out at their place.
Well...
I know you might have your own plan with your own dad, but I was thinking that maybe we could have a combination Father's Day get-together? It's so weird that we're all here, and it feels like a waste to separate for the holiday. That's why I figured we could invite Mr. Holden over. He loves you, and my loves of you too, and the two of them are best friends. I doubt they have a problem with that, as long as you don't mind meshing the celebrations with ours. It's not gonna be a huge party. Just gonna be at my parents' place to hang out. You don't need a gift from my dad either. I got him a tie, but it's not a big deal. That sounds like a win-win to me. Alright. He rubbed his hands together eagerly.
Phew.
Tomorrow's gonna be a great day. And look at me inviting you to Father's Day directly like a big boy. Derek was so tickled inside out that he scratched his cheek and let out a rumbling chuckle. You certainly are a very big boy now. Thanks. His gaze swept over the city once more and his mind began to wander away from where his body was planted on the balcony. Man, it's been it's insane how much time has gone by. It's been, 10 years since we first met? He whispered the words again with the gravity of a long-lost spell. 10 years! Has it been 10 years since that first summer vacation we spent together? So that means we're like 23, 24. Derek's voice and the deed sped up faster and faster. He ran a hurried hand over through his short hair and stumbled back from the railing. Oh, wait, hold on. He can't face you anymore. Derek stared hard at nothing with his jaw clenched. It felt impossible then, but it happened. We actually became adults. Time's up. Oh, right, the promise. Oh, yeah. If you guys don't remember, I think it was like episode 40, 30? One of the early ones where we're previous Father Day activities where we're spending it with Derek, and he made a promise where it's just like, hey, if in 10 or 15 years or however long it's been, if we don't have a significant other, then let's get married. Light bulb went on in your head and you realize what he likely just did to you. And you remember what 10 years meant to you, for him, for the two of you, together, the deal. Derek's face darkened, mainly in the cheek area. He was full of uneasy energy that came out in a constant shifting in position of his feet.
Oh, man!
That's awkward, huh? I hadn't really planned this out as well as my teenage brain thought I had. It's just true. Time was up, and you and him were an entire decade older than you were then. And more than that, you had gone from being barely older than children to being adults. Derek had graduated high school and college. He had a car, a place of his own, probably had student loans. And he was just imagined as a 13-year-old that at this point he intended to complete his vision of grown-up-dumb by marrying you. Let's see. You initiated a serious conversation about the deal, because I feel like that's pretty important. Derek, what do you want to do? He shut his mouth. He blinked. He thought. He stalled. Derek had suddenly dropped into a game where he didn't know if the person in front of him was the same team on the opposite side. Ultimately, he made a safety play and kept the ball in the middle of the court. I'll be as serious about this as you are, whatever that means. And because I want to say, I'm pretty serious. You're playing to be together, but and what does that mean? There was nothing daring about you passing the buck right back to Derek, but it got the gears turning for him. Neither of you gave an immediate rejection. That was telling. The gridlock slowly creaked forward.
So...
Well, then, if you don't think it's totally stupid, we agreed to that deal because we both thought we'd be good together. Maybe we should see if that's true. We could date. His trepid words, shaky expression, and uneasy stance were a perfect reflection of the boy who first suggested the plan. Just to see how it goes, right? Because we had the deal. The long list of irreducible questions were punctuated by a single definitive statement. I'll be up for trying. It's a deal.
No way!
The flash of disbelief was immediate and clasped by a wholehearted cheer loud enough that might have been heard on the balconies of the next building over. Then it's a deal, or still the deal. We're on a mission to figure out if the plan was a horrible mistake or not. Brimming with confidence, Derek had held out a hand toward you in the exact same way he had almost exactly 10 years ago. You know what? For the meme, kissed him on the cheek instead. You're gonna break tradition and move right past the hand he offered and instead pressed your lips sweetly to his face. Somehow, the repeated gesture still surprised him. When he pulled away, he left gawking at you. Derek was still even more starstruck than Nicholas was watching his favorite big brother do a cool soccer stunt. You were miles away from the old playground, and still so much had changed for you and him, but the promise you made together was officially reaffirmed. Derek's fingers ghosted over the side of his face where you kissed him, as if touching it too hard would wipe away the lingering sparks of affection. It meant something to him. You weren't simply romantic backups for a hypothetical future. In the present moment, you were two people who were dating each other. That was hard to believe, but Derek's brilliant smile was there, directed right at you, and you knew Derek never lied. It was real.
You doing okay?
Hey, so how tired are you after all that traveling? Because I was thinking, well, if you want, we could go visit our families now. His enthusiasm was palpable, and you felt ensnared by his sparkling green eyes. I know we were going to see them tomorrow, but there's no law saying we have to wait till then. The idea had you re-energized and ready to hit the road again. The corners of your mouth curled into a grin. Definitely not tired enough to pass that up. Awesome.
Oh,
Wait, are we telling people about the deal? Derek crossed his arms, and you could tell he was trying to stay cool, calm, and collected, but it was obvious that he was anxious. We might be getting married in a few months after all. My family's going to be so blindsided. They have no idea I asked you to be my spouse when we grew up. If you were still single, of course, and still interested, get what I mean. I didn't tell my mom about that either. It's best to keep the family out of this until we have an answer. You straightened out your clothes very properly and maturely, like they don't you were. Don't want to jinx it while we're still ahead, right?
I got you.
Fair. That's a fair point. It's between you and me and nobody else.
Leave it to me.
I'm gonna call my parents to let them know what's up. I know they'll be there. I'll see about getting in touch with George too. If we're lucky, we might get a full house. His mouth cracked into a fond smile. This will be quick. You won't even miss me, or maybe you will. I wouldn't mind that. You teasingly shoot him away. I won't be able to go. I won't be able to if you don't go. Get to it.
Right.
Choo. Satisfied, Derek pulled out his phone and brought out into his ear. He began to walk away in preparation for the talk. Since he was busy with that, you decided to return to the guest room. And with that, I think this is probably a good spot to end this episode here. So start the saves here. With that, I hope you guys have a good day, night, week, month of your lives, and may the stars forever guide your path wherever they might lead you into the future. Hope to see you guys again next time.